Hello everyone, myself Nimila. So now in today's class we'll be discussing the next topic under control and coordination. So now let us study the growth dependent movement. How does movement involve growth? So who shows growth dependent movement? So movement in seedlings is always growth dependent. So what is growth dependent movement? It is movement or growth of any part or any part of the plant which will give response to the external stimulus will be the growth dependent movement. So what is growth dependent movement? It is the movement of growth which is shown by a plant. So movement or growth of any part of plant in response to external stimulus is called growth dependent movement or tropism. So plants will basically show four types of tropisms. One is phototropism, that is they move towards sunlight. So this is phototropism. And chemotropism, chemo is chemical, so movement towards chemicals is chemotropism. Gravitropism, movement towards gravity. Hydrotropism, movement towards water. So these are the four tropisms which are shown by plants. Now phototropism. So this is light dependent growth. So the shoot system of any plant which will respond towards the stimulus of light, that is it grows in the direction of source of light, this movement exhibited by plant will be called phototropic movement, and the phenomenon is phototropism. Very simple example, the sunflowers. They bend themselves towards sunlight, so that is phototropism. So let us see why will this happen. So why will they respond to this towards the light. So let us magnify the upper end of the stem. So this is the upper end. So if you magnify this, so this is, you can see the rectangular structures here. So here at the tip of the stem there is an hormone called auxin. So this is the hormone auxin, the pink color structures. Okay, so this is the PGR, which is plant growth hormone, and it is very sensitive to light. As the unidirectional sunlight falls on the sunny side, the light coming from one directional, unidirection is a single direction. This is the shady part and this is the sunny part. So we can see the auxin will diffuse towards the opposite side. So it is going to diffuse towards opposite side, and it will make the plant bend towards the sunlight. So auxins will cause the cells of the stem to elongate, that is they are going to make them long. So you can see the smaller ones became longer rectangles. This will cause difference between the length of both sides. So this is how the length of both sides of the upper part of the stem is going to differ. So the leading to the stem bend towards sunlight. So this is how it is going to bend towards the sunlight. So this is phototropism, bending towards sunlight. So you can see here clearly. And the plant is growing, you can see. Once it is growing, it is bending towards the sunlight completely. So it is growing like this. Now gravitropism, how will gravity attract these plants? We'll see. Root system of plants are the ones which are going to respond to gravity. So they are the ones which will undergo gravitropism. So this is how the roots will go deepen. So they go deepen into the soil. Now hydrotropism, root system of plants which will respond to water. So the plants which will grow in water. So you can see here, they will go deepen into the water and they get collected. The water they will collect. Next is chemotropism. So attraction towards chemicals. So it is a movement of plant part in response to certain chemicals. So if there are certain chemicals which are acting as stimuli, then the plant parts are going to respond to the stimulus, that chemicals. So that is chemotropism. You can see here the pollen grains. So they are the ones which are examples for chemotropism. So phototropism. Phototropism And the chemicals which we have to see here are of 5 types. So this is chemotropism, phototropism, gravitropism, hydrotropism and chemotropism. So this is how the pollen grains are going to fall upon it, and a chemical will be secreted from the ovule here. So now a pollen tube is the one which is going to generate from stigma towards the ovule, will act as response to the chemical. So this chemical which is produced here will be the response for the chemicals which are present there, and that is how they are going to attract, or they are going to take up the pollen grains. So now you can see different stages of growth here. So plant movements are coordinated by hormones, as I already told you, the PGRs, plant growth regulators or plant growth hormones. So there are 4 types of plant hormones. So we'll see which are those. Firstly, the auxin, which made it bend towards it, gibberellins, cytokinins and abscisic acid, and there is one more which is ethylene. It is a gaseous PGR. So auxin helps shoot cells to grow longer. As I told you, it will bend towards the sunlight and it will make the stems grow longer in size. So this is how it will happen. Next, gibberellins. What will gibberellins do? So when gibberellins act on stem, the stem will elongate. So these are the chemicals which will make the stem get elongated. So this will help for sugar canes. Growth of sugar canes, gibberellins will play a vital role. So they help in growth of the stem. Next, cytokinins, they will promote cell division. So cytokinins will provoke a cell to divide. So you can see this is a germinating phase of the plant. So this is a seed, and the cell division is going to take place for its germination to happen. So the seed got blossomed into a flower, so with the help of cell division, and cytokinins will play a important role. Next is the abscisic acid, the ABA. This is going to inhibit the growth and it will lead to wilting of leaves. So it is the senescence phase of the plant, that is it will inhibit the growth of any part, that is it will inhibit the growth of senescent leaves and will help for the younger ones to grow. So all hormones are growth promoting hormones. So all these are the growth promoting hormones. And can you recollect the roles of plant hormones? So auxins will help shoots to grow longer, and gibberellins for the growth of stem, cytokinins for promotion of cell division, ABA, abscisic acid, inhibition of the growth and wilting of leaves. No. So what is no here? Are all hormones promoting growth? No, not all hormones are promoting growth. So these 3 are the PGRs, which are the growth promoters, whereas the abscisic acid is a growth inhibitor here. So there are 4 growth plant hormones out of which one is a growth inhibitor. So this will stop the growth. Remember, 3 are growth promoters and 1 is inhibitor of growth. Now let us see some other examples. So here is a twig and here is a dried leaf, the same twig which is dried up. So this is pea plant which is showing a tendril, and this is grapevine plant showing a tendril. So why does tendril of the vine entwine around the object? So the tendril, why is it twisted? If we have to see, so you can see it is bending towards it. So they are sensitive for touch. The tendrils are very sensitive for touch, and when they come in contact with any objects, what will happen? The portion of tendril which is in connect will become sluggish and they will grow faster at the other portion. So if you see, if they come into contact with any of the objects, they become sluggish, that is they become slimy, and they will grow farther in other portion of it. So this is what the causing the tendril to entwine itself around the object, thus clinging to it. So it will make curls of itself towards the object, therefore causing that curl of it. So this is how the tendrils will form curls. So this is how the tendril will form the curl. So this is the entwining of the curl. Now let us first see what is nervous control. So after this, we'll see what is nervous system control, how our nervous system controls. So coordination in human beings is controlled by two mechanisms. So one is the nervous system and the chemical mechanism. So nervous control and chemical control. So human nervous system consists of the brain, which will comprise two, and the spinal cord. So from brain and spinal cord, so this is where our nervous system is going to comprise of, and the nerves which are going to arise from the spinal cord. So nervous system, we'll see what it is. It is a system which will control all the activities of body. So if I have to move my hand, my brain has to signal me. So that is what nervous system means. So the nerves which are at movement or which are at rest, all is because of nervous system. So they can be divided into three parts. So which are they? One, the CNS, central nervous system, PNS, peripheral nervous system, and ANS, autonomous nervous system. So nervous system is of three types: central, peripheral, and autonomic nervous system. So central nervous system, it consists of our brain primarily and spinal cord. So this is central nervous system. It regulates all the activities of the body. So regulation is controlling of all the activities of body. Now PNS, peripheral nervous system, consists of all the nerves of the peripheries of the body. So the periphery of the body is the place where we move our body parts. So peripheral nervous system is for the movement of our body parts. So it is a network of nerves spread throughout the body. So peripheral nervous system is the one which is a network spread throughout the body of our system, connecting all parts of the body to the central nervous system. So all these body parts are connected to the central nervous system with peripheral nervous system. Autonomous nervous system, what is this autonomous nervous system? So it has some autonomic nerves. We'll see what are these. So nerves which are present in the involuntary organs like heart, stomach and lungs. So those organs which are performing their functions on stimulating their reactions are the autonomous organs. So they are the heart nerves or the stomach nerves or the lung nerves. So these are performing their functions on their own involuntarily without our help. So that is autonomic nervous system. So basically, before discussing about nervous system, what is a nerve? We'll see. So nerve is a tissue. So tissue is a group of cells which are joined together. So nerve basically is a tissue. So this is one nerve if we see. So a nerve, this is the structure of the nerve, wherein you can see the axon, the dendrites, the nucleus present in it. So nerve tissue is composed of special cells called the neurons. So these cells are the neuron cells. So nerve cells are the neuron cells. Remember, there is a difference between neuron and nephron. Okay, nephron is present in kidney and neuron is a nerve cell. And supportive cells called the neuralgia cells. Neuroglia. So these are the supporting cells. This branch structures. So this is the neuron. Okay. So this is a neuron. Okay, and they are specialized cells. Neurons are specialized and they are capable of creating and transmitting electrochemical impulses. That is, these neurons can produce the impulses, that is, they can take up the question and they are capable of answering by themselves. So neuroglia will support the cells and they will assist the neurons in their function. So these the functions which are performed by neurons is assisted by the neuroglia cells. Okay, so if we are writing our answer, we are going to support our answer with few examples, isn't it? Very similarly, those examples given to neuron will be by neuroglia. So this is how the neurons and neuroglia are coordinated with each other. So coming to structure of neuron. So neuron consists of the central cell body. So this is the central cell body which is called the cyton. So this is the central cell body, this whole structure. So this is the cyton and cell body. So this cyton consists of nucleus at the center, and branches from the cytons arising called the dendrites. So cyton consists of nucleus and dendrites. So these are the hair-like structures or the branches of the cyton, and the long process arising from the cyton called the axon. So three basic structures: axon, nucleus and dendrites, and the whole structure wherein nucleus is present is called the cyton, and again these are the dendrites. So processes arising from the axon called the nerve endings. So this will be the nerve endings, and to the nerve endings the next dendrites, the beginning of the cell dendrites, will be attached. So what happens in muscles and how neurons will transmit messages from body to the brain. So we'll see how will this happen. So if we are touching any heat, the hand should take the signal to our brain that we are touching a heat. Only if it gives signal to take our hand back, we are going to take our hand back. So this reflex reaction, how is it exactly going to happen? How is our body taking message to brain? We'll see it now. So we see this cursor. So when fingers touch the mouse, so we know how to operate a mouse, isn't it? So how are we going to operate it? So the information from the environment is picked up by the specialized tips of dendrites. So with the fingertips, we have the dendrites in our fingertips, and the information of touching the mouse will be taken by the fingertips. Now the information from the environment is picked up by the specialized tips of the dendrites. So the dendrites are going to take the message from the tip of our finger to the brain. So this is how they are connected. This is the tissue, the epidermis tissue of our hand, and this is the nerve endings. From here the message will be passing. It sets off chemical reactions producing an electrical impulse which will travel from the dendrites to the cell body through the axon to its end. So very similarly, these impulses will be carried like this in a series. Okay. So this is the electric impulse which is being carried, and from the axons it is coming to nerve endings, and again from nerve endings here there will be a junction called the synapse. Okay. So from the synapse, so these as I told you, these chemicals will grow across small gap called synapse, which is 2 to 20 nm in size. So from the synapse they will again enter the dendrites. See, they entered the dendrites. And they will start a similar electric impulse. So once they reach the dendrites, they will again start electric impulse, and again it is traveled till the brain. It will go like this. So you can see the electric impulse being carried again. Now here it reached a place. And the signals are delivered to the muscle cells or the glands. So after this they are delivered to the muscles or the glands. The impulses are carried and they are released to the muscle cells or glands. So chemicals are released into the muscle cells from the nerve endings. So from the nerve endings they are released to the muscle cells or the nerves. Nerve ending, they are released to the muscles or the muscle cells. Now muscle cells will possess special kind of protein. So these muscle cells will have some proteins. They will bring a change in their shape and they are going to shorten the muscle. So they, to capture the to capture the impulse, they are going to shorten themselves. So this is how contraction will take place. See, they allowed the electric impulse to pass through it. So you can see the shortening of the muscle cells. So this is how we are going to move the cursor. Hence the muscle will shorten and the click will happen. Now let us study the types of nerves. So now we will see the types of nerves. So nerves which conduct impulses for the sense organs to the brain. So from sense organs to the brain and spinal cord are called afferent nerves. So afferent nerves will carry the signal from the body to the brain and spinal cord. Now from the brain, nerves which could conduct impulse from the brain and spinal cord to the effector organs. So from the brain to the organs are called the efferent nerves. Afferent nerves, efferent nerves. Afferent will carry the message, efferent will bring the message. So afferent nerve is made up of sensory neurons. So afferent nerves are made up of sensory neurons, that is they are going to carry the impulse, carry the sense from our body to brain. So these are the afferent nerves, whereas efferent nerves are made up of motor nerves. So the blue line. So you can see here, it will be reddish in color here. So this is the efferent nerve. So sensory neurons will conduct impulse from sense organs to spinal cord and brain. So the impulse which is carried from our sense organs to our brain, as I told you, we touch heat or we touch any of the harmful materials and we are going to pick it back. That message is carried from afferent nerves to our brain. So they are sensory neurons. Now the integrative function of nervous system performed is decision making. So the main activity of a nervous system is decision making capability of it. So these are with the association of neurons only. This will also happen with the association of neurons. So motor neurons will conduct impulses from spinal cord and brain to the effector organs like muscles. So from brain till muscles the information is passed. How will this happen? We'll see. So both will take place with the association of neurons only. So now let us see the three types of neurons which will work together. So now when a pin pricks the skin, so we are pricking our skin. So the impulse is going to move from the skin to the spinal cord and brain through the afferent nerve. So it is going to reach the brain through the spinal cord through afferent nerve. And then brain will decide to move hand with the help of association of nerves again. So with the help of central nervous system, our brain is going to decide to move the hand off the pin. And that message is given to the muscles by efferent nerves. So this impulse moves from brain and spinal cord to the muscle through efferent nerve. So this is how they perform the action. So the muscle will contract. So we are going to take off our hand. and we are able to move the hand off the prick. So this is how we are going to get the message. And we will take off the hand. Now how can we react in such situations without thinking? So how is this possible? We are not thinking, we are just reacting to it. So what would you do when? So when you see a motor car coming towards you, or when you see something delicious, or suddenly you hear a loud noise. So if we hear a loud noise, we will close our ears suddenly, isn't it? Or if a doctor gives you a jerk on knee. So if a doctor is taking a small hammer and is giving a jerk on our knee, how will we react? Can we control our reactions during these situations? So no, it is obviously no. And one more simple example for this, when you show injections to younger children, maybe the toddlers, if you show them the injections, they will spontaneously start crying. So what makes us giving these decisions? Are we thinking? So are the kids thinking, or they are controlling their reactions? Is the reaction controlling their emotions? No. So you can see one more simple example. Here there is a candle which is lightened, and suppose a boy is touching the flame. So he will automatically take out his hand from the heat. So if he thinks consciously about the flame, then what will happen? Impulses will generate and travel through sensory neurons to spinal cord and brain, and they will come back through the motor neuron to the effector muscle. So they will move from afferent neuron and they will come back to the effector neuron or the effector muscle, and that boy will take off his hand. So the message is coming back. So his muscle will get contracted and he will take his hand off. So it will take time and he will get wounded. So by the time the message reaches the brain and it comes back to the muscle, it is a time taking procedure, therefore he will get a wound on his hand. So what if he has to react suddenly? So here there is another possible way, not only with the help of afferent and efferent, there is some other impulse which is acting upon it. So if he doesn't think about the pain, then impulses will generate and travel through the sensory neurons to spinal cord. So firstly they are going to travel to the spinal cord, and from there what will happen? In the spinal cord, impulses will move from sensory neurons to motor neurons through the interneuron space. So this is the interneuron. So they are going to travel for a shorter time and they are going to come back. So from the CNS they are going to come back. So the nerves will detect the pain. So the nerves will detect pain are connected to the nerves which will bring about movement of the muscle. So they will be interconnected to each other. Hence the action will be completely quick. So we can take off our hands very easily if they are moving on a shirt. So nerves from all over the body meeting in a bundle, such connections is called as spinal cord, where reflex arches are formed. So what is the reflex arch? Within a short period of time we are going to react. So reflex arches are perhaps evolved in animals because the thinking process of brain is a bit slow. So the brain will take time to think, and that is the reason why sometimes we say don't trust your heart but think with your brain. So brain will think slowly. Whenever you are angry, calm down your emotions by thinking, because your brain will lower the anger. And think before you talk. Why we say think before you talk? Because our brain will think what to talk and what not to talk. So brain will function little slowly because it has to think. That thinking capability is little low. Whenever we have to perform any action, we have to think. We have to use our brain. But for reacting to spontaneous situations like escaping from a bus or a train which is attacking, or from any attack, so sometimes if our thinking capability is low, if our sensory organs are not working properly, if the reflex arches are not working properly, we get attacked easily. So what is this reflex action if we have to see? In many animals like the lower animals, the complex neuron networks needed for thinking is not there, or it is not so well developed. So for the lower animals, lower species, the thinking capability is very slow, or the brains are not properly developed. Therefore, reflex arches have been evolved as efficient ways for functioning in the absence of true thought process. So since they lack the thought process, there are reflex arches which are obtained for them to perform actions. So here you can see nerve cord control. So starfish, how will this appear? It is a simple network of nerves, and in earthworm also they are connected to ganglia, and here it is an hollow nerve. So however, in spite of presence of complex neuron networks, reflex arches continue to be more efficient for quick responses. You can see if this has to respond so quickly for moving further, it is highly difficult for the brain to act upon all these actions. So it is the reflex arch which is going to help here. So central nervous system is delicate structure composed of brain and spinal cord. So here if we consider CNS, it is very delicate with brain and spinal cord. So these two are the main structures of central nervous system. Now let us try to understand the structure of brain. So we'll see how brain exactly functions, or the exact structure of brain. Why is it slow? So brain is made up of the external structure, primarily cranium, which is the skull. So protective membrane called the meninges is present between the soft CNS and the bone. So this inner surface is the meninges, which is present between the brain and the spinal cord. So you can see here. So firstly it is the skull, and next layer is the meninges, and next comes the brain and spinal cord connections, which will comprise the central nervous system. And this is the vertebral column, wherein we can see the medulla oblongata getting connected to it. Now cavities present on the different part of the brain are known as ventricles. So the cavities in the different parts of the brain are the ventricles. So you can see these are the ventricles. So these structures, these cavities. Now long cavity of spinal cord is called central canal. So this is the central canal, this white gap. Okay, so this is the central canal. Now ventricle, central canal and the space between the meninges are filled with cerebrospinal fluid. So the blue dot is the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. So to check out with some infections, this CSF techniques are very, very useful to check any infections related to brain or the central nervous system. So this is the CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, and functions of CSF is nourishment and protection by absorbing the mechanical shocks. So it will absorb the mechanical shocks of a person. So nerves arise from the brain are called the cranial nerves. So those nerves which are comprising from the brain are the cranial nerves. So these small thread-like structures are the cranial nerves. So the chewing and the nerves which are present on our face are the cranial nerves. So nerves arising from the spinal cord are the spinal nerves. So the nerves which come from spinal cord are the spinal nerves. So these nerves are the spinal nerves. Now cranial and spinal nerves will make the whole peripheral nervous system. So these two types of nerves all together will make this peripheral nervous system. So we saw central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So now running, clapping, playing is because of peripheral nervous system. So it is involving the voluntary actions of what we do. So next comes the autonomous nervous system. So this will control our involuntary actions like respiration and digestive system and circulatory system. So this will involve the involuntary functions which are performed by our body without our knowledge. So we don't know when our stomach is going to function. We don't know when, how respiration will, we know how respiration will take place, but we cannot control respiration, isn't it? So brain is divided into three main organs. Say forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. So this is the hindbrain. So three divisions of brain. So there are different areas for smell, hearing and vision. So forebrain, what will this forebrain do? It is also called the cerebrum. Remember, forebrain is the cerebrum and it will help in thinking. So cerebrum is the part where the brain will act as a thinking apparatus. So for thinking, cerebrum should function properly. So this is how cerebrum will appear. So this is thought, movement, touch, hearing, vision. The senses are going to be happening with cerebrum. So it is a sensory organ, we can say. So these are the different parts of how our brain is going to act, but within the cerebrum all these sensory functions are going to take place. Next, the midbrain and the hindbrain. So these two coordinatedly will help in our involuntary actions. Say for example, we have to stand erectly, or we have to hold something, we have to clinch on to something in a proper tight manner for those regions. And hindbrain specially consists of cerebellum. So forebrain consists of cerebrum, hindbrain will have cerebellum, and this portion, as I already told you, is the medulla oblongata. So cerebellum will maintain the balance. As I told you, if a person has to stand erectly, it is because of the cerebellum which is giving signal to stand erectly. So the balance, cycling, and coordinating the voluntary activity. So the voluntary actions which we perform are maintained by the cerebellum: walking, standing, balancing, cycling or riding a bike, etc. Now medulla oblongata, it will control the involuntary activities like breathing, breathing, blood flow, so the blood which is going to get circulated, circulatory system, and sneezing. So this is also an involuntary action which we do even without our knowledge. Now let us see some interesting facts about brain. So left hemisphere of the brain has 186 million more neurons than the right hemisphere. So left side of our brain is more heavy than the right side of the brain. So 750 to 1000 ml of blood will flow through the brain every minute. So almost 1000 ml, that is 1 liter of blood, is going to flow through our brain every minute. And brain can stay alive for 4 to 6 minutes without oxygen after the cell begins to die. So that is the reason why a person even with heartbeats is considered to be dead once if his brain is dead. So a brain is capable of surviving for 4 to 6 minutes even without cell division, that is once the cell death has taken place. Now Einstein's brain weighed 1230 gram, less average weight of human brain, which was approximately 1300 to 1400 grams. So that is the reason he was considered to be the genius of that time. His brain weighed lesser. So left side of the brain will control right part of the body and right side of the brain will control left part of the body. So left will control right, right will control left. So left side of the brain will control speaking, writing and logical thinking, and right side will control the artistic abilities. So our aim or achievements, whatever we do in the fields which we choose, is decided by the right side of the brain. Now how does this memory work? We'll see. So memory are of three types. Sensory memory, which will tell us about what is happening around us, which is the brief memory. Short term memory, which will last only for 30 seconds. Long term memory, which is permanent, that is what we have learned or memorized. So these are the three types of memories which are working in our body. So control and coordination is basically of two types. So the nervous control and the chemical control. Chemical control is by hormones. So nervous control of organs is generated by the nerve impulses which is produced, and the way they react to the nerve impulses. Whereas chemical control will germinate from chemicals or the hormones which are produced. So they are going to control our bodily actions. Now both systems work in coordination to increase control against various activities like playing, walking and running. So both hormones and the central nervous system will play a vital role for our activities. Now nervous system will generate electrical impulses, whereas endocrine system will generate hormones. So nervous system for electrical impulse, endocrine system for hormone production. And nerve impulses are rapid and they are of short durations. So you can see the nerve impulses which are created in our body are very short terms. Whereas hormonal actions are slower and they are long lasting. Say for example the thyroids which we get, hypo or hyperthyroidism, or any other such activities caused by hormonal infections. Now what do some animals, for instance squirrels, experience when they are in trouble? So when squirrels experience any scary situations, what will they do? So its body will prepare for either fighting against it or they either run away from it. So both are very complicated activities that it will deal with great energy. If it has to fight also it requires energy. If it has to run away also it requires energy. Complicated here is difficult. So many tissue types will be used and their activities integrated together in these actions. So it requires many tissue types to perform function, and integrated is linking together and performing. So two alternate activities, fighting or running, are very different. So the decision making of either fighting or running is very complicated decision, isn't it? So they are different from one another. So body should get prepared, ideally active for such cases. So it should decide quickly. So how would be this achieved? So how can this quick action be achieved? So if the body design in the squirrel relied only on electric impulses via nerve cells, relying is depending. By the time the nerve impulses took the decision, it would have been too late and the enemy would have attacked easily. So this is how via nerve cells the electric impulses are taken. So range of tissues instructed to prepare for this fight would be coming very limitedly. So it would be very late. So what if the body design relied only on the chemical impulses like glands? So if it was only through glands, then the reaction was also very slow. So range of tissues instructed to prepare for coming activity would also be limited here. But what if both are integrated together? So if body design of squirrel relied on both electric and chemical impulses, so it would be very quick because both the reactions are taking place. Then signals would reach all cells of the body and provide wide range of changes which are needed. So this is done by many animals including human beings. So this electric and chemical integrations is done in almost many of the animals, so that we are going to respond to the situations quickly. So human beings also secrete hormones from glands and achieve these desired results. So let us see few endocrine glands of bodies. Pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, adrenal glands, ovaries and testes. So these are the glands which will secrete hormones in human bodies. So ovaries in males and testes in man. So now let us see how humans will use this hormone, adrenaline hormone. So in jungle, the boy sees the lion. Now adrenaline is secreted directly into the blood and carried to different parts of the body. So adrenaline is released here. So now he realizes that he is in a scary situation. Now target organs or specific tissues on which it acts, including the heart. So here there are target organs. It will reach to the heart and the other organs which are to be performing the function. So heart will beat faster, resulting in the supply of more oxygen to our muscles. So it will transport the signal and more blood to the organs, more oxygen to the muscles quickly. Now blood to digestive system and skin is reduced because the contraction of muscles. So here the oxygen is moved more to the muscles, therefore the blood which has to be transferred to the stomach and other parts will be reduced and more will be transported to the muscles only. Now this diverts the blood of our skeletal muscles. So this will divert the blood from heart, from stomach to other parts to the skeletal muscles. So now both our lungs and heart are working simultaneously and breathing rate will increase. And all the responses together will enable the body to deal with the situation and the boy is going to run away. So this is how it works. Now let us see some examples to understand how hormones will help in coordinated works. So thyroid gland, how will it help? It will secrete thyroxine hormone and this thyroxine will control the carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism in our body. That is the reason why the food we eat will directly impact on our thyroidism, either hyper or hypothyroidism. So it will break down complex food molecules into simpler ones to produce energy. So thyroxine is the one which is helping us to break the complex molecules to simple. Now iodine is very essential for the synthesis, that is formation of thyroxine. So we have to consume food with iron. If there is iodine deficiency in our diet, thyroxine hormone will decrease, which will cause goiter, that is enlargement of the thyroid gland. Now pituitary gland will secrete growth hormones. This will help in the formation of growth and development of the body. So pituitary glands will check over the growth and development. So if this growth hormones are deficient in childhood, it will cause dwarfism. If they are produced in increased manner, it will cause gigantism, that is growing enormously tall, like this. Now next, testes. So this will produce testosterone hormones in males, which will cause the boys are going to attain puberty, that is the boys will get those boyish attitudes after the release of testosterone. So development of secondary sexual characteristics like the heavy voice of the boys or the man and the beards, like that. Ovary will set estrogen in females. Due to secretion of estrogen, the girl is going to attain puberty. And this is how secondary sexual characteristics of women is also obtained. And if it is so important that hormones should be secreted in precise quantities, we need a mechanism through which it is done. So if there is limitation for these activities to be performed, there is a mechanism which has to be taken place, isn't it? So the timings and amount of hormones released and regulated by body is controlled by feedback mechanism. So let us see what is this feedback mechanism now. So feedback mechanism, if glucose concentration increases in blood, the increased glucose level is detected by cells of the pancreas. So the pancreas are instructed to produce less amounts of glucose molecules. So this is the production of glucose molecules by pancreas. Now the cells of pancreas will respond to the situation by producing more insulin. So if glucose molecules are more, then insulin molecules will increase its production to maintain the glucose molecule level. So here this is how they are going to digest upon the glucose molecules. So insulin will reduce the glucose concentration in the blood. So insulin will reduce the blood sugar. Now as the sugar level of the blood falls, the secretion of insulin by the pancreas will also get reduced. So once the sugar levels in blood is dropped, the insulin levels from the pancreas will also get